Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate any day.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
TV or book?
Book.
Yeah, me too. Winter or summer?
Summer.
Dogs or cats?
Neither a lot.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Take risks or play it safe?
I play it safe.
What is your full name?
Susan Jane Collister Becker.
Do you know why you were given this name?
I know my middle name, Jane, was because my mother had a sister, Jane, who died when she was just about 3 or 4 years old. She was born while they lived in Holland, and they came back and she took ill suddenly and she passed away. And so she always loved that name, and so both my sister Paula and myself have Jane for a middle name.
What is your nickname and how did you get it?
Some people call me Susie, just short for Susan. I think it just kind of evolved over the years.
When and where were you born?
I was born in 1953 in Glendale, California.
Tell me about the sequence of children in your family, where you fit and what that was like.
I'm the youngest. So I had 3 older brothers, Dick, Dave, and Doug, and they were born 2-3 years apart, and then there's a break in the family. And then about 6 years later, I had a sister Paula and a brother Tad, who are really close in age, about 16 months apart. And then there's another 8 years, and I was the very last one born in the family.
What type of chores did your parents give you?
You know, I think just things like vacuuming, dusting the house, make sure your room was always picked up. My mother kept a really neat and clean house. Sometimes in the summer, I remember when we lived at our house on Heather Ridge, I had to go out and we had to seal all of this with these beautiful pavers. And I remember having to brush in this white stuff into all of the pavers and get those all clean and sparkly.
Do you remember a time as a child when you were mischievous?
Oh, you know, when you asked that question about play it safe, that is really me. It was just kind of quiet and play it safe. I will think on that one. I'm sure I can come up with something interesting.
Who did you look up to as a child and why?
I always loved my mom and dad. My dad was the kindest person in the world. He would do anything for you, and he would take me sometimes on Saturdays to Griffith Park, where you could ride the horses or the little train. And I think all of my brothers, too, to this day, we just think of my dad as the kindest person. And I always think of it, and he's watching over me now from the other side. My mom, I looked up to her because everything she did was well done. She entertained, we had a beautiful home. It was on the Chora Homes in California. She decorated beautifully. She was president of all these civic groups or active in them, Charity League, PEO, the hospital board, the emergency loan plan, Meals on Wheels. She started all of these things, all of the 3 PTAs. She was a Relief Society president 4 times. And she was very, very capable and had a lot of leadership. Very social, too.
How did you meet your spouse?
You know, I met Dean at BYU in a freshman English class. And then once he asked me out, and we dated some, and then he left on his mission.
At what point did you know that he was the one?
Well, we wrote a little bit on his mission, and then when he came back, he wanted to go to law school, and all my family had been lawyers and all. And I don't know if there was a sudden moment, but I think it just progressed over time.
What is a quality you admire about him?
You know, I think he's always willing to help anyone out when they need help. Even if he's tired, he'll go run down to the grocery store, or he'll go to the cannery for the church, or he'll go move when people in the ward need help moving. Or if he's tired at night and the lawn has to be mowed, and because he stopped to help someone else, he'll still go out and do it. I think he is very willing to give service and likes doing that.
What do you remember that was special about your wedding day?
You know, it was a beautiful wedding. It was, we were married in the Los Angeles Temple in the morning, and then we had a wedding breakfast back at our house on Heather Ridge, with family and a few close friends. And Mother had that catered. It was a big, beautiful home, and so she could do it at the home. And then we had a reception that night at Oakmont Country Club. And what's kind of fun about that now is that my oldest son, Adam, your Uncle Adam, he and his family have joined Oakmont Country Club. And when they interviewed them, the family is what they do to have them become members as part of the country club. He told them, he said, my mom had her wedding here, and they were, oh, you belong here. So it's kind of to have that fun family tradition.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. What relationship advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
I think that the first thing anyone looking for has to look for someone who will love the Lord. And I remember this story of my Grandpa Richards, who, when he proposed to Grandma Iny, and he said to her, asked her to marry him, and said, how would you like to be second in my life? And at first she started to run away, and she was offended by that. And he said, the Lord will always be first, but you'll be so important to me. And as a girl growing up, I thought that story was terrible. But the more I thought about it over the years, I thought, that's right. If the Lord is first, everything else will work out.
How old were you when you had your first child?
I was only 22 when Adam was born. Almost 23, but not quite.
Knowing what you do now, what would you tell your young parent self?
Oh, you just can't give too much love and too much attention. These are these precious spirits from Heavenly Father, and there is nothing better than being a mother. And while it may seem sometimes like the days are long, but the years are short, that saying, that is so true. It goes so fast. And so I'm so grateful for grandchildren like you, so I can still kind of be kind of a mom, a grandmom.
What did you do for a career, and how did you get into that field?
Okay. So we lived in London when I was a teenager, and we spent a lot of time going to the art museums and plays and the symphony, to the ballet at Covent Garden, and I loved it. So I majored in humanities, which was close to a major in English and a minor in French and art history. But you can't really do much with that in the real world. And I just intended to be a stay-at-home mom, but when it became evident that I needed to work, I looked into what I could maybe do. And I decided to go back to business school and get my MBA. I might have gone to law school because I did take the LSAT during my senior year of college, but then got engaged, and so I didn't end up going to law school. But if I went to law school, I would have had to be gone from my children, who were teenagers at that point, and really studied, and I would have lost 3 years of their life. And I know it was too important for me to be there with them. MBA, I could start out and do it part-time over 3 years. And I knew I could get a flexible schedule, do consulting work in business, and so that's why I ended up doing an MBA.
What did a normal day's work look like for you?
They're just filled with lots of meetings. We do a lot of work on the computer. We do a lot of reports, research, and our clients are all cities, counties, districts, like water districts. And we just help them with everything from understanding fees and rates to planning for economic development to housing concerns and to funding these with bonds in the bond market.
What is your favorite genre of music?
I love classical music. I think it's because we grew up with it playing in our home all of the time, and because of my piano teacher that loved it, and I learned a lot of classical pieces on the piano.
What is one of your favorite quotes or sayings?
There's two. All thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of thy children. I think that there's a lot of truth in that. And then I have no greater joy to know that my children walk in light and truth. Children, families, everything.
What is something you use every day that you would not want to live without?
Oh, our scriptures. I can't imagine if we didn't have the truth in the scriptures, what life would be like. So I do them first thing in the morning when it's nice and quiet and calm.
Tell me a joke you like.
Okay, so I'm not a real joke teller, but my grandchildren tell me jokes. And this is one I probably heard from them more than any other. What did 0 say to 8?
What?
Nice belt.
Tell me a story about a person or place from your family history that is special to you.
Well, a lot of the Collister ancestors came from the Isle of Man, which is just off the coast of England there. And I was able to go and visit it when I was a teenager, when we lived in England. And, they're known for their independence, and their little symbol is a 3-legged circle that has one leg to kick out. Was it the Irish, the Scotch, and the Welsh, or the English, whatever? I don't forget which three countries it is. But they're very independent. And that so served us well because many of those ancestors left there and came to America. And I'm so grateful to them for what they did because I can live in America. One in particular, his name was Louisa Jane Barton, and she was just a young girl about 16, and she heard the gospel, and she wanted to join the saints in Zion. And so when her parents found out, her father found out that she had run away and he came and searched on the ship, but her older sister Ellen hid her out on the boat, and she was able to sail to America. Later in life, Louisa was a very generous person, and she had a feeling that she needed to go back and check on her sister Ellen, and Ellen was living in poverty, and Louisa brought her back to the United States to live with their family and took care of her the rest of her life.
Tell me about a loved one that has passed on that you have felt close to in your life.
You know, it's my dad. We've had several experiences in the family where we feel like he is watching over us. And one was Uncle Adam had a sweet dream one night before his mission where he felt that Grandpa was there. Your dad had a sweet experience in the temple before he left on his mission where he felt that Grandpa was close. And then when I was changing work employment companies to move to my present place at Zion's, it's always a little scary, traumatic when you're doing that and wanting to make sure I made a good decision. And I got a priesthood blessing, and I was told in it that my dad was watching over me. And then I went to meet the man who wanted to hire me, wanted to build this department at Zion's. His name is John. And as John was talking that day, all of a sudden, out of the blue, he quoted from Rabbi Robert Burns. He said, here's a quote from Robert Burns. And I just went, Rabbi Burns? My dad quoted him all the time. He loved him because Dad served a mission in Scotland, and he was their famous poet. Well, John has never quoted him since or any other, but the fact that he just said that was just what my dad would have said. It was just a really sweet, peaceful feeling when I felt that he was watching over me. Just one little experience of how I felt that he's been there.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Yes, it was special.
Tell me about a time when someone's help or kindness made a difference in your life.
You know, there are so many times, but I think that my brother Tad has been incredibly kind to me and to my family. And years ago, he started allowing me to put money into these apartments that he invested in. And he would be investing large sums, and I would have small sums with these new apartments. But because of that, it has grown over the years. Apartments grow because the equity builds up as you pay down the loan on the apartments and you receive monthly rent checks. And it really has made it a way for me to be able to retire comfortably someday, and I'm grateful for his kindness in including me and letting me do that. He's been very, very generous.
What is a challenge you've overcome, and how did you get through it?
So when I went back to MBA school, I was paranoid. I was so scared. I was older by then. When I graduated, I was 40. And I was so afraid that everyone younger was going to be so much smarter. I'd done it for 20 years. That was a really scary time. And the other thing that was hard about MBA school is they had what they called the case study method. So you'd read these cases in business, and then they would just call on someone, and you had to stand up, and the teacher would keep firing questions. And I have never, ever liked to do things in front of people. I've always been kind of quiet and just kind of prefer to be in the back row, don't raise my hand a whole lot. But I had to learn to be able to do that. And now, I have to present all the time in front of city council meetings, in front of all kinds of groups, presentations. And sometimes there are issues where everyone's in agreement, but other times there are numbers showing them which way should you go, and there's strong feelings on both sides. And so I've kind of learned to handle that and just distance myself from, here's the data, you can make your decision, but here's what you do. And it's made it a whole lot easier to do things like teach in church and things like that. It's like, oh yeah, they're all friendly. So I guess I've learned from it.
How has faith or spirituality played a role in your life?
I think it's just the foundation of everything that we do is our faith and our family. And once we believe in God, I think it gives us faith during difficult times. Like right now, we're dealing with this coronavirus. And I think we're just all calm in our family and know that God's at the helm, and it will all work out. You take one day at a time. So I think it's the whole basis for everything that we do is built on our faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and gratitude for him and for his atonement.
Yeah, I agree. What are 5 things that you are grateful for?
Well, certainly the gospel of Jesus Christ, including the atonement of our Savior, Jesus Christ. I am so grateful for ancestors who loved the gospel and were faithful to it. Willard Richards, who was such a faithful friend to Joseph Smith. And I'm so grateful for those ancestors who held true and came out to Salt Lake so that we could have this heritage of the gospel in our family. I'm also grateful for those ancestors who came to America. I absolutely love this country. We are so fortunate to live here. And I just thought this week how we've always had everything on the shelves in the food stores, and right now they're out of things. And I thought, these poor women in other countries, they've dealt with this their whole entire lives. And here we're just having a little bit of discomfort, disruption for a week or two. And then I started thinking, I wish every woman could have the blessings of America. And then I thought, and even more, the blessings of the gospel. We have so much we take for granted. So I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful just for this, for the beautiful world that we live on in God's creations. And of course for family, not only the ancestors, but you are the joy of my life, your children and grandchildren. And I am so proud of you and so amazed at all you do so young and so inspired by you.
Oh, thank you. If you could turn back time, what is one thing you would do differently?
You know, sometimes I wish I could be young again and know what I knew now, what I know now. And so I would just think, just be really dedicated to the gospel early. Steady young. It's like, if you invest money young, it grows and grows and grows. And I think the same thing happens when you gain a knowledge of the gospel young. It just pays dividends throughout your entire life, and it will just multiply over the years. And so I think I would be really serious about that. And I think I would also really try harder to build relationships that last over the years, because that's really, really what matters.
What do you miss about the world from when you were young?
Oh, it is changing, no doubt about that. I mean, we used to be able to just hop on and off airplanes without any security. There wasn't quite so much traffic. It was just seemed to be a little bit of a safer world, a little more innocent world. We didn't have to worry about the internet. While I love it and the advantages it brings, it also has some challenges. Brings media, things into our lives that maybe we don't want. I love that the movies and the TV shows were so clean and pure. We used to watch I Love Lucy, Leave It to Beaver, and the Donna Reed show, and they were all about families. So I think probably I miss most the change in family structure, that families just used to be the basic foundation of society, a traditional family with a mom and a dad, and a mom who stayed home when she could, and the children were the top priority. And I miss that about our society. There are not words to describe how much I love you all. You are the joy of my life, and I think about you every day. I pray for you every day. So what would my message be? I think it would be to take each day with gratitude. I would look at the good in every day, to be optimistic. Grandpa Richard used to always say that I'm an optimist, and I think that it's contagious. It brings great blessings in life. And why was he so optimistic? Because he had a firm faith in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he loved the Lord so much, he was a wonderful missionary. He wanted to share this joy with everyone around him, and I think there's a great deal to learn from him in this. So I pray that you will all love the Lord, that you will study the scriptures, that you will learn to love them. I pray that you will all marry wisely and in the temple, and you can have happy marriages, and that you will have wonderful children. Nothing will bring you greater joy or pays greater dividends than having a family and rearing your children in love and in the gospel and in teaching them. These are precious spirits that come from Heavenly Father, and there is no greater joy than being a mother. And it is such a distortion in our world today, and a lie perpetuated by Satan, that it's mothers at home need to be doing more than staying at home. I think it is one of the biggest evils of our day, greatest lies of our day. Nothing is better than being a mom. Nothing is more challenging, requires more skill, more intelligence, more love, communication skills, and it's just wonderful to be a mother, and it just gets better with being a grandmother. I pray that you'll have a desire to serve other people as you build relationships and you go about, like Christ said, he went about doing good. As you go about doing good, I think you will find great joy in each day, and that the Lord can use you to be his hands here on earth. And I think some of the greatest joy comes when we know that we're doing what the Lord would have us do. And it's just in the small little things, by small and simple things, great things are brought to pass. And you will make a real difference in this world. I am excited about the day when we'll all be together for eternity. And it will be wonderful to live in families and to enjoy each other's company, to keep on learning, and to keep having eternal increase with more and more joy added all of the time.